everyone. I am going to be doing the Idaho 4 reading. I just want to let you guys know because everybody asked me. I always, for these types of readings, I always use my Marie Lenormand cards, and these are called the Bluebird Lenormand. See that? Yeah, and so I do this because the cards are small. My workspace is small, so I'm able to put the whole entire spread on my table. So I did do some shuffling before I began the video, but I'll do a couple more. And I'm sure that everyone has heard of the Idaho 4 unalivings. Trying to get used to this verbiage on YouTube. But I have to preface this with this is for entertainment purposes only. You know, if this doesn't vibe with you, just move on. And also, I'm doing this reading specifically on because he's a suspect, he's in jail, he's awaiting trial, Bryan Kohberger. So let's see what the cards have to say about him. And again, you know, he's in court awaiting trial. He's innocent until proven guilty, and everything I say here is my opinion and for entertainment purposes. All right, let's get on with this. One more. Bryan Kohberger. Okay, I'm gonna have to move these up a little bit here. Make room. Okay, already I'm seeing the coffin and the book, a secret. Now this is like literal for me. Now the coffin means different things, of course, but the book is secrets. The coffin is death. The garden is learning, and the bear is solitary. So we'll just keep on going on here. Barely have enough room here. All right. So what I like to do is I like to verify that this is the reading for, you know, who I'm doing the reading for. And like I said before, the cards on the table, you know, it's already verified that a little bit to me. There's also a view of women, which this is the lady here, and underneath the lady is mice, and corner to that is the tower and the snake. And this is definitely um, Bryan Kohberger, in my opinion. He already, I can tell that this man had an uncomfortableness around women. His energy was very strange, and I can explain that here in a little bit. He's in a tower, which is a prison, or a jail, I should say. Now he's locked up because of this obsession that he had. Now, what I don't want to do is to minimize the victims, and I want to remind everybody who they are. Excuse me. Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan. And what I can see currently is, and how I read the cards, is I read the symbology first, and then what I do is I tap in. It's hard to explain, but I channel, and it sounds really creepy, and I'm sorry guys, but I channel. It's easier for me to channel through the killer's eyes than the victims, unless they're a child. My throat always gets super dry when I start these readings. Sorry. So, what I do first is I look at the symbology, and then it just kind of drives me into this channeling. And a lot of times what I'll see is, like, depending on this, how strong of a connection I have, is either long reels of movies or short reels. And already what's trying to push through to me are short reels of movies. So short snippets of things. Now I'm going to warn you guys too. I'm good. I without any ego, I'm really good at seeing things, but I'm terrible with timelines. So a lot of times I jump back and forth, and I'm going to apologize ahead of time for that. But I do believe that I'm going to be able to see what happened. I do believe he's guilty, and I do believe he's solitary. He worked alone. I know that there's a lot of these conspiracy theories out there, and I'm just showing you what I see in my cards. No more, no less. So another thing I want to show you is the gentleman card is right here, and above that is it's a type of a mental illness when it's paired with other things. So like the house, this is like something, it's something that he's dealt with for the most part in his life. And it's like he doesn't see things as real. I don't know if this makes sense to you guys, but what is this called? Psychology students, help me out here. It's like and especially when he gets really flustered, he gets very is it disassociation? But he feels like he's in a dream state when he gets flustered, like things aren't real. And he suffered from that for quite a while. And actually I'm seeing images and feeling these feelings as I'm speaking to you now about it. He's always it was instilled in him in his youth, like delusions of grandeur. Okay. And the last thing he ever wanted to do was to like come home and say he's been picked on or whatever. And we all know he was, but his ego was huge, and he didn't know how to interact with people, mainly women. And he what he did was he went by example. He mimicked people. So he was picked on, he lost his weight, and then because he felt more confident, he picked on people. He was a bully. He enjoyed that a lot. And he thought that when he lost all that weight in high school, that he was going to get all these women, but it was worse for him in the end, because it was he felt like he was more available to the girls, but in the end he found out it wasn't his weight that repelled them, but him. And he started getting like this deep rooted hatred for that, and a certain type of girl that really got under his skin, especially when he was turned down. All right, so let's move on. So he was also OCD. So I see him, and I don't know why this is important, you guys, but I have to say it. For like everything he did, he counted in fives. So before he picked up his fork or spoon or whatever to eat his food, he counted to 5. Before he urinated, he counted to 5. I know it sounds so weird, but this is just what I'm being shown. Or in tens. So he is definitely a strange character. So let's move on. So, I also see him getting into the habit of following women, like following them home and creeping on them. And he also developed this game with himself that when he spotted someone that attracted him, actually in the end it was pretty much everybody, but he would envision and visualize in his mind how many ways he could unalive you. And I see this happening it was a game he played, and it ended up becoming this obsessive game that he would play. And he was always fascinated with this, guys. So, and that's obvious with what he had ended up going to school for. So that's not telling you anything new. But this is just an affirmation of what is making him tick. Pretty much of an empty shell, this guy, except for his ego, envy. And I think it was like one of the dads I watched an interview. I can't remember which dad it was of one of the victims. And he said, this is a crime of jealousy. And he is correct. He is absolutely correct. It gives me chills. This man, whoever said that, I can't remember which dad said that, but he is highly intuitive. So anyway, how did he meet these people, the Idaho 4? So it's pretty well known, and I'm just verifying that excuse me, that he had met them. It was actually there was mainly one, but he'd been happy with the other one as a victim, and it was Maddie and Xana. And he had met them and started creeping on them where they worked. So this started this whole thing in his mind, as well as all of the events that were happening at his college, or at the university, where he was going to school at. things were rolling and getting out of control at the school. He couldn't convince everybody that he was smarter than them, and he was going to show them, as well as satisfy his deep need to know what it was like to do this to somebody. It sounds so simplistic, but this is what I'm seeing, guys. So he met them at the girls' work. I don't know what that was, but he met them there, and one of the girls, I do believe I'm seeing Maddie doing this, who is such a kind soul, speaking to him and being kind to him when she was working there. And he had these delusions of, oh, she must like me, you know. And then Xana comes up to her and whispers in her ear and pulls her off to the side. And then Maddie's demeanor in his eyes, how she reacted to him after that had changed. And that's what flipped the switch. I'm not blaming Xana. Xana had intuition like no other. She knew what this guy was. And Maddie knew too, but she was such a kind-hearted soul that she didn't want to hurt his feelings no matter how weird he was. She was so sweet, you guys. And Xana was too, but she wanted to protect her friend. So, moving on, he ended up finding out who they were. He found out the address. He was able to somehow, I don't know how, was able to find out where they lived through their license plates. He looked them up, you guys. And so he was able to pinpoint where they lived. Somehow he was able to access some information via a computer. So he looked him up, and that's when everything started. Was he actually, and if you guys really want to know, he's even been in that house before. He has gone in that house when they were having parties. He'd walk right in, and he knew every layout, everything about that house before he even went in and did that horrible deed. And that was during parties. He was able to walk in and out, and everybody, I mean, he was such a type of a guy that wasn't really noticeable, so no one really paid him much attention. He went in there and kind of acted like he was hanging out with people, just kind of sitting against the wall and watching them. He did that several times. He was watching them and going in the house when they had parties and such. And in fact, there was one time in particular that he got upset, had seen that one, like it was Maddie, I do believe, was being affectionate towards her boyfriend, and he ended up calling in a noise complaint. It'd be interesting to see where that call was placed from, because there was like several noise complaints, like a couple months before this all happened, and I know he was there for a short time, but he honed in on these girls fairly quick. Also, he did actually a couple of other ladies, but he wasn't as excited about them as he was about Maddie and Xana. So anyway, I literally see him picking up a phone and calling in a noise complaint, or using a phone to call in a noise complaint to ruin their fun. Okay? It'd be interesting to see what happens in the court, to see if that actually happened, if they've got any kind of evidence with that. So anyway, let's move on. So the night or the early morning hours, and like I said, I'm seeing like short, like little videos in my head about this. Once I'm tuned into it, I see him having prepared for this for weeks, all right? Because this is a lot like a desire for him to do. It's like a, oh, can I even say this on YouTube? An S fantasy? But also it was to show everyone that he could get away with it. He thought he was smarter than everybody, and I'll show you. I will show you, okay? And it'll be my secret that I can watch. This is the garden, which is a college, a secret that he can keep, and it makes him happy. Regarding him, quote unquote, getting away with it. So what this guy did was this. And like I said, it's probably not the whole picture, but I'm seeing snippets. He had trash bags, an extra set of clothing, extra set of shoes. He left his trunk open with the garbage bags and his clothes so that he didn't have to open anything up after he had done this horrible deed. He parked his car after he did a couple rounds, which everybody knows he did this to surveil. And he had it all set up so that when he got done, he didn't have to enter that car with tainted clothing and shoes. Okay? Everything was all prepared. Trunk open. All right? So then I see him walking in to the back door, which he's done before. And he knows where to go. His first target is Maddie, and he knows where she's at. So he goes up there. Surprise, surprise. There's her friend in there with her. They were so close. And that's when he did what he did to Maddie, waking Kaylee up. Maddie's a fighter, but Maddie she didn't have a chance to fight, really, guys. But Maddie woke up. Kaylee woke up and fought. And she is a scrapper, okay? She was mad, and I don't blame her. So that's where the sheath gets lost in the bedding underneath Kaylee. Because Kaylee, oh boy, did she fight, guys. Yeah, her parents would be proud to know how much she fought and how long she fought. So, of course, she couldn't get out of there. She was stuck and stuck where she was at. And he ended up unaliving both of them. It didn't take him long, guys, okay? It doesn't take long to do what he did. He had a purpose. He knew what he was going to do. He had it all planned out. He even had gone there before to time how long it would take him to run up the stairs to their rooms and also to Xana's room. And he's an expert at this. He knew how long it would take to do this. So don't underestimate him with this. I'm not saying he's the smartest guy, but he had a lot of time thinking about stuff like this in his head for years, okay? Him thinking he's smarter than everybody. So then he's done with them. He goes downstairs And he looks in the kitchen area and he sees Xana. Xana is in the kitchen. And she startled him as much as he startled her. And he stood there frozen. And before he knew it, Xana ran into the bedroom, her bedroom, to wake up Ethan. And that's when he followed her into that bedroom and had done what he had done to them. Now, I don't know if any of this is making sense. He realized that he had lost the sheath to what he, the knife. Okay, I'm mispronouncing it on purpose. I don't know what YouTube is, what it allows. So he's like, it must have happened upstairs. So he goes back upstairs. He looks everywhere for this sheath, you guys. He's freaking out. He's looking everywhere. He cannot find it. It's underneath Kaylee, underneath a comforter. Because she fought so hard, it got lost underneath there. The dog's barking. He's starting to freak out. He slips into, which, going back to this, when he freaks out, he gets anxiety. His mind flips a switch, and he starts feeling like things aren't real again. I don't know the name of that. I feel it right now. It's freaking me out because as I'm looking through his eyes, I feel like things aren't real to me right now, and it is a very strange feeling, you guys. So anyway, he freaks out. The dog is barking, and he's like, oh, I got to get out of here. And he just goes down the stairs and out the where he came from, the sliding glass doors. And he gets to his car. He takes off all his clothes. He had gloves on. Actually, he had 2 layers of gloves on, if you really want to know. And he took them off, put them in the garbage bag because his trunk was already open. Put on his clean clothes. He did have one of those face knit cap things, that just shows the face part. I heard that, somebody said he had a mask on, but I don't see that. It's like he's pulling it off of his head, you guys. So it's not like, I don't see a mask like a surgical mask. I see one of those knit hats that pull down over your face that just show your eyes. Okay. The eye part. So then he makes sure that he puts all that stuff, his shoes and everything, in that black bag, garbage bag. And it's when he drives home is when he discards that bag. Now he thinks about that bag a lot because he knows if it's found, he threw it in like some underbrush, some brush. He covered it up with like branches and leaves and grass and stepped on it a couple times. That was the weapon. That was all of that stuff. So it's kind of like for him, well, he's pretty arrogant. He thinks he hid it pretty well. But he also thinks, what if I didn't? So someone definitely can stumble across this black garbage bag. I see a white garbage bag too. So there's like 2 layers of different bags. And he's thinking, well, I hit it really well. I need to be confident in myself. But he keeps on thinking back to that bag that he had discarded that has all this evidence. And eventually it will be found. But like I said, my timelines are really messed up here. And I may have to do another reading regarding if they find it or not, because it's not wanting to show me now before he is brought to trial. I feel like a positive yes, it will be found, because the trial isn't for, it's like postponed and for a long time. We all know that. So there is time for that to be found, but it's going to be luck. It's going to be luck when someone finds that. I'm just doing this reading regarding what I see and if he did it and what his motives were. I do see, I don't want to go, like I said, my timelines are terrible. I do see a conviction, but there's some stuff. I don't know if he changes his plea. I don't know. There's a lot more evidence that we don't know about yet regarding this case, you guys. So keep an open mind with it. I do not see any conspiracy theories. He acted alone. And I also want to tell everybody, that Bryan Kohberger, he would, if he wouldn't have got caught, he definitely would have done this again. He had someone else in mind. He was following someone else. That was somebody he was planning on later, but with Maddie and Xana, he felt an urgent need. He's like, these are my first ones. Now, I want to also go back to his family. His sister knew what he was. She had caught him spying on her. He creeped on her, made comments, inappropriate comments to her. She knew that he had some inner dark secrets. But the parents, I don't really see, it's not like, they are good parents, and it was nothing that they had done. This is something that happened in his mind, that it's not anything they did, okay, you guys? But the sister knew. The sister could probably tell stories about growing up with this guy, and they would probably creep you out. But also, I want to get back to the victims, and I don't want them to be forgotten in all this, in his monstrosity, in his act. I think that I really do need to mention something as well. And when Kaylee and Maddie were unalived, so they all crossed over into the light. They crossed over into the light, but they did it all at the same time. They were all holding hands, crossing into the light. So Maddie and Kaylee, it happened to them, they were unalived first, and Maddie and Kaylee actually in spirit had followed him and were trying to get him to stop before he reached and gotten to Xana. And I see them, they were so desperate, and they were like, in their spirit form, they were reaching through and trying to punch him, and they were punching him like in the heart area. And now this sounds really crazy, but I would not be surprised if down the road that Bryan Kohberger ends up with some type of a heart problem. Because, like I said, it sounds crazy. They were desperately trying to stop him from doing what he was doing to their friends. So at the end of it all, please, let's remember the victims, how hard they fought, even in spirit, and know that they had, when they had crossed over into the light, they were all, holding each other's hands when they went into the light. They're always, they're visiting their families, because they can come back and visit their loved ones, comfort them, and help them like their own guardian angels. All right. So, like I said, I'm sure this doesn't answer all the questions. I think that a lot more will come to light once the court proceedings, the trial happens, and then everybody's going to be like, oh, okay. All right, well, this makes more sense now. It's not a conspiracy theory, you guys. He did it alone. A very sick individual that would have continued to do this. So, all right, we're done. So, thank you, everybody. And I don't usually say this, but I guess, like, subscribe, and share this video if you feel like, this resonates with you. And all right, take care.